Welcome back to In the Can. We got Kirby Dick leaving, and of course, Rory, you know Kirby, and so it's like just one big reunion here. Everybody's saying hi and everything. We are talking with Rory Kennedy. She has brought a very personal film to Sundance this year called Ethel. It's about your mom.
Yes.
And of course, you know, we all know about the Kennedy family, the royal family in our nation's history, and not a lot of people know about your mom. Of course, your father, Robert Kennedy, extraordinary man, and extraordinary woman, and your mother as well. So what drove you to want to tell your mom's story?
Well, I love my mother, and I think she's a really remarkable woman. And I think it's really one of the great untold stories. She hasn't done an interview in 30 years.
Right, yeah.
She's very shy on camera.
I found that extraordinary. I mean, is it just because she wanted to kind of take herself out of that?
You know, it's an interesting thing because she's such a character, and she's got such a strong personality, but she really, I think, prefers to be kind of one step removed from the forefront of things.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. I think she's frankly a little bit shy, even though it's sometimes hard to see that with her. But
right.
But you know, I am so happy to share her with other people because she's lived through so many extraordinary events and really has been on the front lines. Sometimes in the foreground, sometimes in the background, but I think she has a lot of insights, but she's also just got such a great personality, and she's so funny, and so it's exciting to me to help introduce her to people who haven't had a chance to meet her.
Well, and you know, you say she's a little shy and reserved, but it's a good thing she has a very outgoing, very talented daughter who I mean, and a lot of, not, you know, Rory, you are an accomplished filmmaker.
Thank you.
You have tackled subjects that have been painful to watch sometimes, some that have been very difficult. I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but was it more difficult to do a film about Abu Ghraib or about your mom?
My mother, absolutely. Abu Ghraib was a walk in the park compared to this. You know, it was a difficult film for me, and in part it was because it is personal, and I felt the added responsibility because it is my family.
Sure.
And frankly, there's also very, you know, difficult and very sad parts of our history, and to ask people to revisit those is difficult. And I think, you know, so much my family kind of lives in the present and are forward thinking and forward living, and don't really look back so much. So, you know, it was challenging on that front.
Did you find as you were making the film, I mean, I know you approached your mom and she maybe surprised you by saying, yes, ask me anything you want, and you sat down for 5 days or so and she answered every single question. But what was your experience? I mean, were you starting to relive some things that maybe as a young child you kind of put away for a minute? I mean, what was the experience for you as you were listening to your mom kind of retell your family story a little bit from her perspective?
Right. Well, there were a number of things that I learned about my mother and my family in the making of this film. You know, they range from, I never knew my mother used to bet on horses in college.
Was she good at
it? She was quite good at it. She was quite good at it. And you know, there's some great stories about all of the animals and kind of the trouble that they got into when the kids were little. And then, you know, there was, I think, just I had such an appreciation and love and admiration for my mother, but in making this film and having this experience and going through all of the archival footage and being able to talk to my siblings about her and the life that we've all lived together, you know, I think that the depth of appreciation just was kind of enriched in making this film. So I really, even though it was very difficult to do, I feel so grateful to have had that experience and have gone through it. I mean, how many of us get the opportunity to sit down with our parents and ask them every question we've ever wanted to ask? And so, you know, in part I did this because I have 3 children, and I want them to know my mother and know her story. And you know, she's got 35 grandchildren, and they're going to be great-grandchildren, and a few have already popped out. So, you know, some of it was just a kind of selfish interest to make sure that everybody knew who she was within our family, but also feeling that maybe that interest went beyond our family, our immediate family.
We have a lot more to talk about. We're going to break for just a second, but we'll come back with Rory Kennedy, and we'll talk more about Ethel after this. Stay tuned. And we are back. Thanks for joining us here in the can. We're with Rory Kennedy, accomplished filmmaker, and someone who I think is more authorized than anybody to make Ethel, the documentary about your mother. We were talking before the break. This is really kind of a neat way, not only for us to take a glimpse into this side of your family, but for your family as well to really understand your mom and understand the influence. 11 children,
Yeah.
big family. Became a single mother with 11 children at some point. What an incredibly strong woman she had to be.
Yeah, I mean, she's extraordinary, and I think she's certainly been an inspiration to everybody within our family, and I hope in kind of documenting her life in a 100-minute film, that other people can kind of access that and see that part of her, how she was able to get through this and endure and live life so fully.
Well, I know we have a clip. We want to take a look at it. Let's take a quick glimpse at Ethel. Wow. You're going to tell your mother...
My mother's story.
Yeah, okay. That was an interesting cut. Yeah, well, one thing I do want to point out, we saw the HBO logo up there, which means it's good news for all of us. We're going to be able to see this in distribution.
Yes, HBO actually got behind this film at the very beginning and helped develop it, and actually helped conceive of the idea. Sheila Nevins approached me to do it. And it's going to be on sometime this summer, although we don't have an exact air date.
Good. Look forward. Now, we mentioned 11 children. Of course, you were the youngest, and just an infant when your father died. But
I was actually born after he died.
After he died. That's
yes.
right. That's
yes.
right. Yeah. And did you get a lot of help from your brothers and sisters? I know for the most part, everybody was very eager to help you.
Yeah. My siblings they're all such an extraordinary bunch, and certainly growing up in such a large family, I think, helped fill in any gaps there. I mean, there's obviously a huge loss with the loss of my father, but I do feel that between my mother and my siblings, that I had a lot of love and support growing up, and that made a world of difference.
What kind of reaction has your family given you to the film? I'm assuming you screened it for the family.
Well, I sent it to basically my mother's in the film and my siblings are in the film, and those are the only interviews that I did. And so when I finished the film, I locked the picture. I showed it to my siblings and my mother, and they were all very, very happy with it, and it's been great because I've had 26 family members come out to Sundance.
Oh, wow.
And they were all at the premiere on Friday, and so that was a really special moment.
That must have been nice for the audience as well.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden you mentioned, by the way, half of you are Kennedys. And
I know. I was hoping it was up for the audience award because I figured all my siblings and family would vote for it, and I would be in pretty good shape.
Were you? I assume then that your family may have been you may have been worried about that audience more than any audience.
Yeah, it was intense. It was. I think it's an experience I won't ever forget. It was sitting next to my mother and knowing that so many of them were there, and I think none of them had seen the final version, and then seeing it up on the big screen with an audience of 600, 700 people.
Because that's a whole different experience. I mean, you can see the film in your living room,
yes.
right? And have the family over, but
yes.
actually seeing it with people who aren't as connected, obviously, with the story. Were you surprised by the reaction? Were you?
Well, I was really overwhelmed. It was so powerful, and I really, the kind of emotional intensity of the film was palpable, and I really felt a very strong audience reaction to it. So it was very touching to me, and really meant a lot. And I think my siblings were really moved by the experience as well. And it's not only. I mean, I've only seen it on a small monitor, and maybe with 2 or 3 other people. So to show it in that kind of showcase with so many people around, and it's such a deeply personal film that it's very hard to have perspective on it.
Sure.
And I think it's a good film, but I don't know how other people are going to react. And so it was very reassuring and deeply moving to have the level of reaction that we've gotten here at Sundance.
Well, it's been a great reaction so far, and I know you're going to stick around for a few more days. There's a few more screenings,
Absolutely.
a couple more Q&A, so you're going to have more opportunity to hear from the audiences.
Absolutely, and it's so great. It's such a fun experience for me to share it with people.
Well, enjoy the ride.
Thank you.
We're all excited to see it. Again, it's good news that it'll get distribution. It's already got that
Yep.
set up. So if you don't get a chance to see it at Sundance, you will get a chance to see it on HBO. Thank you, Rory Kennedy.
Thank you for having me. It's
Absolutely.
great talking to you.
Film is Ethel, and it will be screening obviously throughout the entire festival here. We'll be back with more In the Can after this. Stay tuned.